I am Oskar Burman. I'm the CEO of Fast Travel Games. Fast Travel Games is a VR game developer based in Stockholm, Sweden. Been around for almost 5 years. We made 3 game launches so far: Apex Construct, The Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets, and Buddy Cats 2. And we have 1 game called Wraith, the Oblivion Afterlife, that's coming fairly soon. And several more cool games in the works. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon. If I go back I've been working with games since I was a teen in the early 90s. So I've been around in games for a long time. I made cons for PC, consoles. I worked for companies like Avalanche Studios, creators of Just Cause. I worked at EA DICE with the Battlefield brand. I worked with Rovio, with Angry Birds. I saw the Lawnmower Man in the 90s, and that kind of got me excited for this weird thing called VR that might happen in the future, maybe during my lifetime.
Brainstem strobe enabled. Is that my hand?
Even though it felt like it would not happen, but maybe one day that could happen. So that really got my excitement going, and I said to myself that if this future happens someday, I want to be part of it. 2014, 2015, something, when this first wave of VR started to bubble, the new headsets were on the horizon, and it felt like, yes, there is probably a consumer wave of VR happening fairly soon. And I remember the first time I tried VR must have been when Chet Falisek from Valve was visiting Sweden, probably in 2015, to show off the Vive. And I was invited to Starbreeze, actually, because that's where he had set all this up. And there was a very few selected developers from Sweden that were allowed to try it, but I was one of them, and I was so fortunate, and my head was just, this is amazing. Before we started Fast Travel, I heard about Neat and befriended them just because I wanted to try their game. This was before they launched the demo on Steam. So I just wanted to play the game and get to know them better, understand what they were doing. And obviously Budget Cut also blew my mind. It's like, yes, this is amazing. It just reinforced that, yes, this is the path we should be going in. I had been at Rovio for 3 or 4 years by that time. I was leading that studio, but I felt like now is the time to go build my own studio focused on VR. I've been kind of waiting for the right time to start something new, but this is the time. So in early 2016, we raised the first capital for Fast Travel Games and got started. So it was me, Eric Odeldahl, who is our creative force. He's coming out of DICE, worked on Mirror's Edge, Catalyst before joining us. And then Christopher Benjaminson, who's our CTO, who's also from DICE, leading the Frostbite team there. So we had a really good founding team. I think we all us 3 felt that if we're going to do this the right way, we need to be our own entity, because things always move slower within the bigger companies, and it's always a side business. We want this to be front and center. We need to focus on this. And we wanted to be fast and agile and be quick to the market, whereas from our experience, if you start something in one of the bigger companies, it's usually a longer process to get to a launch. And we wanted to launch fairly quickly, and maybe not get everything right, but start learning quickly from the market. And so we could take those steps into becoming a better and better developer. And then you need to launch games. That's one thing I've learned throughout the years, that it's when you launch games you learn, and you need to have that pace in the company to make progress. When we went into the Steam marketplace, we felt that there was a lack of proper games, or like games that we were familiar with from the normal PC console space. So that's where we came from. Obviously, that was, in hindsight now, that was really, really early days. But when we were there, it felt like, okay, this thing has been launched for 6-9 months. Why aren't there any, more real games? Why haven't anyone been investing in building something proper? So yeah, that it was very intentional to go and try to build something, even though we had a tiny team and we had a lot of restrictions, but at least try to build something that did span for a couple of hours and like took you through a narrative, etc., etc. So yeah, I think we probably worked for 3 to 6 months with testing different stuff before we, ended up with like the prototype for Apex Construct. So I think it was probably not until late 2016 or early 2017 we actually got started on Apex. And that's also, I think, when we started to share an office with Neat. So before that, we had just been, a super small team. But then we needed an office, and we obviously had been continue talking to Neat, and they also needed an office. So we let's move together and sit there. We will learn a lot from each other in this new medium.
You're awake.
We learned a lot about VR interactions and how you need to think about when designing a VR game. I mean, the stuff you're expecting in VR, in terms of if you see a texture with a button on, you go press it immediately. Whereas in an Xbox game, you would never like stand in Call of Duty and try to press all the buttons on a texture that's just a lot of buttons. That wouldn't make sense. You're just running through it, shooting with your gun. So it's more, those details makes, they're much more highlighted for the player in a way. Like you see that and you want to interact with it. So it becomes more challenging when designing for VR in that sense. We also learned a lot about locomotion, obviously, like everyone else. We started off with teleportation as kind of the only way to move in Apex, and because we felt that was the safest way of keeping players away from nausea. But then free loco movement started happening in the community, and now it's kind of a given that you should be able to move in free loco. So it's like a lot of that stuff happened as well. So there was tons of learnings from the first game. Again, a reason for getting to launch and testing on the market and see what people are saying. Oh, and also we learned about how much stronger at that point in time, how much stronger the PlayStation market was than the PC market. We just thought there would be more demand at that point in time, but Apex has really proved to be a slow burner, and maybe this is down to the whole VR market, but we've seen steady growth in the sales over time, which is super unusual when you have a narrative single-player game. It's not like a live service in any way, but we still see this growth over time, and that's down to market growth. And obviously a game that still holds up and that people is pointing to, that's a cool game, you should play it. 2017, but even more 2018 was the tough years when there wasn't the momentum kind of died off, and there was like, okay, when is VR, you started to question yourself, is this going to happen? What's going to what's going to drive this going forward? But then in 2019 a lot of stuff happened with the Index and the Quest, and then you could start see the ball moving faster again. I mean, if you look at our portfolio of games, you can see that we are testing a lot of different genres. We're not afraid of switching genre, and actually, even though the games might seem very different, there's still a lot of similarities in terms of how we handle interactions, first person presence, etc., etc. So there's a lot of learnings that we're taking across the games when we build them.
Hi, my name is James Hunt, and I'm very happy to announce the next title from Fast Travel Games and a passion project of mine called The Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets.
This was a game that he had been dreaming building, and we built it with a tiny team in a very short amount of time. But I think it turned out great. I mean, it really, it's a shorter game but it's in many ways more polished, I would say, than Apex. It's really like, yeah, it's polished through and through, and also like how the art comes together with the music from Wintergatan. It really works out perfectly, and that's something I like. How Wintergatan also really liked how their music married with the game. They said like, this is the game that our music was always intended to be and enjoyed with. So that felt really good. In terms of sales, the game is, I think it's the best-selling game we have right now on the market, because I think it's we did the hand tracking addition to the game last year, and it seems like it's fitting in this. Yeah, it has its kind of unique niche in the Quest ecosystem, which is really good for us.
So we knew early on that we wanted to make Budget Cuts 2 a game of larger scope and variety. So that's when we asked Fast Travel Games to collaborate with us.
It's really weird in a way, but it was pretty natural to us. I mean, we had been spending a lot of time together. We knew each other. We trusted each other. Neat felt like they really wanted to build a sequel to the game. And they didn't have the capacity really to get it out in that short time frame they wanted out, and we felt, why not help out on this thing. And it was really a co-development. Eric wrote the script for it. We really just took the people that we had and like, okay, let's do this together and build something great out of this. And I'm really proud of that game. It turned out really, really well. It was fun. It was fun to do something, to actually work together. We had been sitting together, but now we work together. So yeah, we're not sharing office now, because now they've grown and we've grown, but it's we still stay in contact a lot, and we have a Slack channel that we talk a lot about VR games and such. So it's yeah, that was fun.
Budget Cuts 2 Mission Insolvency will be released on all high-end VR headsets this year.
What?
Can you feel it? Can you hear it pounding?
I mean, we started talk about it way before. So I mean, we hadn't launched Curious and Budget Cuts when we started discussing it. We had been talking to Paradox about this IP, and they wanted to try VR, and they have the World of Darkness IP, and Wraith is a part of that, and they felt like this being a ghost must work really well in VR. Can we go build something out of this? So we started to think about this concept. What could this be? And pitched that to them, and they felt like, yes, this is the right step for us to try VR, because they're so non-VR as a developer in a way. So it needed to be something different. And Wraith has never been a video or computer game at all. So it's kind of a blank slate in a way. I mean, within the World of Darkness, you had Bloodlines, obviously. But they've done a couple of other titles as well. But Wraith has never been done in games. So that felt good also, that it was like a complete blank slate. We could do whatever we wanted in a way.
Oh, this is a new sensation. I feel stronger, like I can lift anything.
And Eric, as you know, he's a true horror fan. So for him, it was like, finally, I get to work with something within horror. It's a horrifying game. It really feels like our fourth game, because all the games have been, major, marks for us. But we're taking learnings from all those games, I would say. Even though if you play Wraith, you could definitely see the the history from Apex and from Buddy Cuts 2 in it. But there's also things from The Curious Tale in terms of interactions and such. But I mean, it's no, I mean, we're taking all the learnings into this project. It's a lot of stuff we've learned throughout the years that's coming together here, and it's definitely our most ambitious game yet. I mean, both in terms of project length, but even more so in team size. I mean, this is a huge team for VR. I mean, it's over 20 people that have been working on this for a long time, which is fairly big in VR. When I see what we're building, next now, I like this. You always see those stepping stones into a great future in a way. We've been fortunate to have time to spend more time on each individual component of this game that we've had in the past, meaning it is more polished, it's more thought through. There's it's a lot of good stuff in it. We're not going to be a horror studio from now on, if you say so. I mean, we are going to move between genres, definitely, because I think we have that capability to do that, and we have a great team that spans over different genres in games. It's going to be a variety. There's a lot of stuff in the works. I really can't say much more than that. I wish I could, but Andreas would kill me. There's so many that didn't make it in a way, like steered away and built something else. So I'm super proud of that. We're still here. We're still, almost everyone in the team is still with us. It's a bunch of true VR believers in this company that's like stick around and just fought for this to happen.